Welcome to the Emotional Intelligence and Customer Relations webinar. This is a presentation of the New York State and CSEA Partnership for Education and Training. My name is Eddie Encarnacion, and I will be your host for our webinar. Our facilitator today will be Cherie Halt. I'd like to take a moment to point out a few things. First, every
And so Mark would be the more self-aware because he knows what his triggers are, and he knows, and he's gotten feedback from others, and he asks questions regularly. So hopefully that's making a little bit more sense. Are there any questions about those strategies? Because maybe it was me that got us a little bit confused. Are there any more questions?
If you do have a question, go ahead and type it in the chat box. I'll give everyone just a few more seconds.
Tell me if I made that clear about knowing your triggers and seeking feedback, those strategies. Put in the chat box, yes, it makes more sense now, or no, it doesn't make more sense. Thank you, Liliana. Okay, I just needed to clear that up just a little bit more. So the strategy is being able to identify those triggers. And once I know what they are, then I can start moving to manage them. And then I ask for feedback. That's what the self-awareness strategy is, okay?
Okay,
So go ahead, Eddie.
looks like everyone understood. There are no questions, so we'll go ahead and we'll move on, Cherie.
Okay, good. And so now we have the self-awareness. Let's take a look at the second skill in the personal competency area, self-management. So here's the definition for self-management. Self-management is a person's ability to choose to act or not act in a situation. It is the ability to recognize your own emotions and then direct your behavior in a positive way. We saw this with Mark. In customer relations roles, self-management skills help us to take responsibility for our own behavior and then handle challenges with flexibility. Self-management is important because it builds upon the foundational skill that we just reviewed, self-awareness. It takes this step a further into effectively responding. So now that I'm aware of the emotions that I'm having, now it's time for my logical system to kick in and know how to respond sensibly. So there are two strategies to increase our self-management skills. The first step is to breathe. When you start feeling anxious or uneasy or irritated or frustrated in a situation, pause, take a deep breath. Let's do that together now. And then out. Taking a few slow, deep breaths when you're feeling irritated, angry, upset, by inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the mouth, will give you two things. One, it'll give you a few seconds for your limbic system to kick in and your logical system to catch up. It also adds oxygen to your brain, which will allow you to be more clear and focused. Your brain needs 20% of your body's oxygen in order to perform basic functions and manage your moods. So taking a deep breath gives us time, and it allows us to have more oxygen to our brain. So it's not just a cliche of taking a deep breath, it's actually rooted in some hard science. So after we take a breath, we begin to focus on our freedoms. And so start moving into what you can do instead of what you can't do. Usually when people come up to you and they're irritated and frustrated, you begin to feel irritated and frustrated because it seems like you're trapped. But I want you to focus on your freedoms. You are not trapped. You are free to make decisions and choices. So here's what you can do. And I even make that statement. When customers comes up to me and they are frustrated, irritated, I take a deep breath to manage my own emotions. And then I start immediately, the first thing out of my mouth, I say, let me see what I can do for you. Let me see what I can do. Let me look to see what I can do. And it just focuses that energy toward freedom. Here's what I can do instead of being focused on what I can't do. And it shifts the experience. It shifts the tone. And so customer service work can be very challenging. We must focus on the needs of the customer, but often we forget to focus on our own needs. So I need to be helpful. I need to be calm. And so using these strategies can help us manage the more challenging parts of our job. And it allows us to be more mindful of ourselves, and it allows us to have more control over the situation. So those two strategies again for self-management are take a deep breath and then focus on the freedoms. Start the conversation with, here's what I can do to help. Now that we have those strategies, it's time to practice. Let's look at this specific situation and scenario. Here's Mindy. Mindy is a customer relations associate who has been in her agency for the longest amount of time, so she's got a little bit of seniority. Her coworkers respect her because of her experience and her seniority. They often route their most difficult calls to her, especially when things need to be escalated. They escalate them to Mindy. She is very popular with customers, and she's almost always able to resolve the issue by focusing on what she can do rather than what she can't do. Many of the agency's policies are not very popular with the customers, nor are they very popular with the employees. They're a source of frustration for everyone, including Mindy. So she's been known to take those most comforting, those most frustrating situations to the management and talk to them about changing those policies. She's speaking on behalf of her customers and her coworkers. And so she openly discusses how frustrating these are in their job role. And she does that with the management team. So, what is Mindy doing, in your opinion, to demonstrate that self management? Tell me, just based upon what you've heard about Mindy, what is she doing to manage herself in those situations? Type it in the chat, please.
Please type your answer in the chat box, which you can find at the bottom right-hand side of the screen. Okay, the chat is a bit quiet here.
It is. Maybe it's me. So Mindy is in customer service relations. Yeah, here they come.
Okay, there we go. Staying relaxed. Yeah, that's a good one.
Mm-hmm. Looks like we're a little sleepy out there today. Taking a deep breath.
Yeah, relax, take a deep breath, staying relaxed. Thank you for the participation.
Yeah, so let me go back and review what Mindy was doing. So Mindy is taking those policies that are very frustrating. She's taking them up to management. Those policies that are very irritating to her and her customer relations, she's talking and getting feedback from coworkers. She's taking that feedback to management. She's working on her freedoms. She's focused on what she can do. And so let's move a little bit further. Are there any questions?
If you
Any
do have
questions?
a question, please type it in the chat box.
So let's recap just a little bit. Personal competency. Personal competency is being aware of my own emotions and then managing it more sensibly. So, awareness, know your triggers. Awareness, seek feedback. Management, take a deep breath. Management, focus on your freedoms. Excuse me. So, there are 4 things that you can do: know your triggers, seek feedback, then take a deep breath, focus on your freedoms. Start the conversation with, here's what I can do. Now that we have that, let's move on to the second half, social competency. And this is where we step into social awareness. So, social awareness is a person's ability to recognize and understand the emotions of others. In customer service, social awareness allows you to anticipate, recognize, and then meet your customers' needs. Social awareness is important because it provides a strategy for building rapport with others and connecting with them no matter our differences. It is recognizing and understanding the moods of other people by using your senses, your knowledge, and your past experiences as a guide. And so there are two steps to social awareness. The first is being in the moment. Just like this child focusing on this toy, they're all in the moment. And so when you're dealing with customers, be in the moment, eliminate distractions, be focused totally on them. And some things that you can do to stay focused on them is when they're talking, write notes. Jot down some notes of how they may be feeling. Jot down some notes about the experiences they are having. Be in the moment. Don't be focused on the past or the present or next what's for lunch. Be in the moment with them. And then the second strategy is to step into their shoes. Sometimes we call this empathy. And so when we are able to empathize or step into their shoes, it offers us an experience to understand where they're coming from. So think, if this were happening to me, how would I be feeling? If my license was revoked, how would I be feeling? So being aware socially takes two steps. One, being in the moment. The second, step into their shoes and use empathy. Now let's go to practice with Jerry. Jerry works in a direct care facility, providing care to developmentally disabled clients and their families. He has extensive experience for 12 years, and he's very popular with his coworkers and his patients. Because he's been very successful in his job, he doesn't feel like he needs to make any changes. He has a new boss now with less experience than he has, and they want to make changes. She's been asking Jerry to meet with her to get his ideas and his advice, but he keeps declining to meet with her. Jerry is working with a new patient and their family. And the family is always making suggestions to how he should be doing things differently, even though what he's been doing has been working well. So you tell me, is Jerry using good social awareness skills?
I'd like you to notice that I've opened the Slido panel on the right-hand side of the screen. With your mouse, click on A for yes or B for no that you feel is the best answer. When you are done, please click on send.
And Liliana's right out of the gate. She was like, no, he is not at all.
All right, so let's see. Liliana put that on the chat. Let me take a look at the Slido polls. And it looks like the majority of the people have spoken, and it's a resounding B, no.
All right, good job, everybody. You've done a great job in identifying that Jerry is not using very good social awareness. And this one can be tricky because even though Jerry is very good at his job, he still needs to work on his social awareness skills. Let's give Jerry some help with this. So what does Jerry need to be, what might Jerry's boss be feeling? What might the family be feeling? So can you sense what the family might be feeling as they make suggestion and Jerry's ignoring them? Can you imagine what Jerry's boss might be feeling as she's asking him to meet with her and he's declining? What might they be feeling? Use some of your social awareness and type it in the chat.
Yes, please go ahead and type in the chat. What do you think his new boss might be feeling, or what the family of his new client might be feeling?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yep. So we have several responses already. Annoyed, slight frustration, anger, disappointment, angry, upset, confusion, disappointed, frustrated. Yes, all great answers, everyone. Thank you for participating.
Absolutely. You guys are great with this social awareness part. You got that down. And so now that you have the social awareness part, Let's move into relationship management because those two things go hand in hand. And so the fourth emotional intelligence skill is relationship management. And relationship management combines all three of the skills together. Relationship management is a person's ability to handle their own self awareness and self management while being socially aware in order to manage the emotions of the situation and having successful interactions with others. In customer service, relationship management allows us to build a bond with our customers and it allows us to know how to work and cooperate with them. So, why is relationship management so important? Relationship management is interacting effectively with another person, even if it's someone you don't like. All relationships take work, even those that appear effortless and healthy. Even people who have been married for 50 years or more, they still have to work on their relationship management. They still have to manage themselves. They still have to manage their actions. They still have to manage their social awareness of others. You never stop working on relationships. And so, working on customer relationships takes time and energy. Relationship management is a result of being self aware, managing ourselves in those situations, and also being socially aware to consider other people's feelings and needs. So, actually, relationship management puts everything together and it allows us to have a better experience, which is a better which is the most essential part of your job. We want to offer the customer a great experience. That's what brings them back. So how do we increase our relationship management skills, you ask? I'm glad you asked that. Many of us oftentimes would like to avoid those most frustrating situations, but they come up and we actually build up our skill set when we face them head on. So don't avoid them, embrace them, and here's what you can do. So, two strategies to increase your relationship management include explain your decisions. I found it very helpful when I'm asking for something or I'm talking through a decision is to give them the why. Many people need to know why you're asking for information. Many people feel better with knowing why those decisions are being made. So be open and honest. That will allow them to go a long way. Here's why I'm not going to be able to fulfill this right now. Here's why I need your driver's license. Here's why I need this second piece of information. And giving them that opportunity to understand the why allows them to calm that situation down. Now, the second part of our strategy of managing relationships better is that little things go a long way. The little things really do matter. So, saying please and thank you and I'm sorry and being polite allows those experiences to go farther. It actually allows you to appreciate the person's effort. And so I often say, thank you for providing this particular part of information. And while I appreciate you providing this information, here's some additional things that I'll need in order to complete the file. Here's some additional things that I'll need in order to verify your identification. I appreciate you for offering this. However, here's some additional things that I would ask you for as well. And even when it's a situation to where it's outside of our control, apologize. I often say, hey, I'm sorry you're experiencing right now. I know this can be very difficult. I'm sorry to have to keep asking you for this. And so it allows us more opportunity to manage those situations and actually brings down the anxiety. So these good manners and simple gestures will help you build healthier customer relations. So here's the last chance for us to practice. Let us put on our hats and work and start working with Malika. So Malika is a caseworker for the Office of Children and Family Services. A report comes in on the hotline that there's a potential case of child abuse. It involves a 2-year-old little girl with black eyes and bruises on her body. Malika is assigned to the case and goes to investigate, making an unannounced visit to the home. A woman answers the door and Malika explains why she's there and the purpose for her visit, but the woman becomes defensive and starts screaming. You're not coming into my house. I won't allow you access. You have no right. This is ridiculous. I don't beat my kids. How dare you come here? Now, what can Malika do in this situation to manage it? Think of the strategies that we've talked about before. What strategies can Malika use? Now, give you a recap of the strategies. Here's a recap of the strategies. So which one of these can Malika use in this particular scenario? Type it in the chat.
Type your thoughts about which strategies can be applied to Malika's situation in the chat box. Self-management, yeah, that's a good one. Social awareness, self-management. All of them, Kim says. Yeah, no.
I think you're right, Kim.
Yeah, all good responses. Thank you, everyone.
Great responses. Thank you so much. So we've covered a lot today. And before we move on, are there any questions about the 4 emotional intelligence skills? Any questions about self-awareness? Any questions about knowing your triggers and seeking feedback? Any questions about self-management? Take a deep breath, focus on what you can do. Any questions about social awareness, being in the moment, using empathy by stepping into their shoes? Any questions about relationship management, explaining your decisions? Little things and small gestures make a big difference. Are there any questions about those strategies or your ability to practice them?
If you have any questions, you can type them in the chat. We also have a Q&A session in a couple of minutes at the end of today's webinar where you can go ahead and also ask those questions. But right now I'm looking at the chat and everyone's saying no, that they have no questions at this time.
All right. Well, let's go full circle back to the beginning. And so let's go back to the scenario that we started with. Remember, you're a customer service representative at the DMV. New regulations have come out about the medical examiner certificate for commercial license holders. The DMV was supposed to notify the license holders of this current certification and if theirs didn't meet the requirements. If they did not recertify in 55 days, their license was automatically canceled. An angry customer approaches you and it comes up to you demanding the reinstatement of their canceled license immediately. He says he was not informed of the new regulations. He was not notified by the DMV of the certification that he currently had no longer met the requirement. And he is now license expired and he cannot do his work. And he's blaming you and calling you names. What happens next? How might you respond? How might you respond to that scenario? How might you respond? Knowing what you know about emotional intelligence, how might you respond?
Like it's noticed that I opened a Slido panel on the right-hand side of the screen. Take your mouse and click on as many options, A, B, C, or D, that you feel are the best. And then when you're done, go ahead and click on Send. And for this one, you can click on multiple options on the Slido panel. Oh, there.
I was going to say, I don't see a question.
There it goes. All of them I see on the all on chat. The Slido panel is now open, so you can go ahead and you can click on the votes, and everyone is pretty much saying all of them on the chat. So I'll take the chat.
Exactly. And Eddie, I think we might need to change that Slido to all of the above.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone.
Job. Great job, everyone. Those are great answers. You're right. You could use every one of them. By reflecting on the situation, you are now more aware of emotional intelligence and on your way to building deeper and more meaningful relationships with customers. Managing our emotions as they happen is not an easy feat, especially when you're in those customer-facing relationships. We have provided some strategies to help you today. However, practice is key. In order for you to improve in your emotional intelligence skills and gain a great confidence at work, then you'll need to take time in putting these into action. And so if you have new approaches, I hope that you'll take these and start using them immediately and use them hopefully. I'm not hoping that you have a bad experience today, but I hope you do get a chance to practice your newfound strategies so that you can begin to develop those skills. And so hopefully something we've said today will help you when you go back to work. Now, do me a favor and type at least one thing that you've learned today that you're going to put into action immediately when you go back to work today.
Go ahead, type at least one thing in the chat box that you'd like to put into practice from today's webinar. And we did learn a lot. Cherie, you covered an abundance of information. Take a deep breath is one that I personally practice myself. In the chat, they say definitely self-management. Yes, take a deep breath. Self-management, all great responses, all great things to put into practice. Thank you, everyone. Okay, yeah, we have some more. I like both deep breath and stepping into one another's shoes and self-management. All great responses. And this brings us to the end of today's webinar. I just want to say thank you to Cherie for this great presentation. But before we wrap up, I want to mention that when you close the webinar window, our brief online survey will pop up in a new window. We thank you in advance for your feedback because we do review it all and use it to improve our webinars. So we do hope that you'll take the time to fill out this after you leave. Also, I would like to mention if you scan the QR code on the screen, it will take you to our Skills for Success catalog where you can search for upcoming webinars or view our in-person classes being offered this semester. Simply scan the QR code with the camera app on your phone.